Your notes. Top of them, what is the label of this section? It is 5.2.
And it's something
Constructing
altitudes.
medians and altitudes.
We're going to go with medians and altitudes. First of all, what is an altitude?
How high?
How high something is, I'm okay with that. What you might look at in this picture, there are 3 altitudes in a triangle. In a triangle, think of it like this. If this was the ground, there's only one point left that's in the air, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't this line tell how high it is?
Yes.
Now, if I was to turn it around like this, this being the ground, there's an altitude you can draw that would tell how high that one is. Then you turn it a little more, and if that was the ground, okay, you could draw an altitude that becomes a right angle that would tell you how high what? That one is. Okay? The point of concurrency of an altitude is called the orthocenter, which is on your piece of paper. We're just talking about it. Okay? It looks like this. Nothing really special happens. Because look at their special property. The lines containing the altitudes of the triangle ABC are concurrent at orthocenter. In other words, they meet at S, right? That's all. So this is one you don't need to worry about. The orthocenter is not something that has much use. If you'll remember, the incenter, the circumcenter P, is equidistant from each vertex. So this distance is the same as that distance, is the same as that distance. Right? That's what's special that happens there. Okay? And that's when the perpendicular bisectors meet. The angle bisectors meet at what is called the incenter. What happens special with the incenter? They're the exact same distance from every side, aren't they? The incenter is. That's what happens special there. Calvin, wake up. Now, the one that is the most useful is the one we're going to learn about now. And probably as far as all of you kind of knew what an angle bisector was. Perpendicular bisector was easy enough, it made sense, right? Probably the newest, I don't know how many of you have ever heard of a median of a triangle before. You probably haven't. And here's what the median is. The median, we can write on here, segment that connects a vertex to the midpoint of the opposite side. So you guys would all say that is a midpoint, correct? Or this is a vertex, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the reason this is a median, because it connects what? A vertex
And the side.
and the what? The midpoint of the
midpoint.
opposite side. So it cuts this one in what?
Half.
Everybody okay with that? Put the stinking phone up and take the headphones out. Put it up. Now, point of concurrency. It's called the centroid. Now, this one is very, very handy. It says this, now this will sound much more complicated than it actually is. Okay, the centroid R is 2/3 of the distance from the vertex to the midpoint of the opposite side. Here's how this works. And what I want you to write on this piece of paper. There's basically going to be two sides. This median is going to get broke up into parts, thirds and 2/3. Basically, look, there's going to be a smaller part. It's always going to be from the midpoint to the side. If that's X, the same median from the from the centroid to the vertex will be 2X. So it breaks it up into 1/3 and what? 2/3.
Do you need to write that?
Yes. This distance here will be what? Twice the distance of right there. Agreed? Now look at this one. If I make this one Y, what's this one?
Y2.
2Y. If I make this one Z, what's this one?
How are you choosing which one's the vertex though?
The vertex is where the
Oh, okay, so
Triangle,
it's
yes.
vertexes. Or vertices.
when you see these drawn, the longer one is always from the vertex to the center. Okay? When you have three medians drawn, they always break down like this. Okay? How are we on that?
It's
Little iffy?
okay.
Yes.
Can you go back to your writing, the thing you wrote down by median?
Okay. It says segments that medians are a segment that connects a vertex to the midpoint of the opposite side. Connects a vertex to the midpoint of the opposite side. Now, we're going to draw a triangle here at the bottom. I know I've got it frozen, but I'm going to try to recreate that triangle in a tad bit bigger way. Come in.
Sure. I'll come in anyway. Do you know how to do that academic affairs worksheet?
No, I was reading that today too, and like, oh, I got to figure out how to do that.
Look, swing by my classroom. We will knock it out in 2 minutes, I promise
Okay.
you.
I don't even know if I know where mine is.
Well, it's a pre-printed form. We're just gonna print it off and you're gonna write, sign your name, that's it.
Okay, we'll do it. We'll do it right after this.
I'll just do what you worry about.
I appreciate you. Okay,
Who is that?
it's Mr. Francis.
He's pretty fine.
He's awesome. He's the man. Okay, I am going to do my best to draw three medians. Now, the nice thing about medians is all you have to do is find the halfway point.
How do you do that? It's a triangle. You measure it.
I measure it. Okay, and then I measured this one to be 4, I think, so I know it's going to be at 2. So, and then I just draw the third side. I've done this a few times. And then now, since I know it should be a concurrent point, I just connect the dots there.
Oh, okay. That's simple.
So I didn't worry about how big the third side. Okay, so let's call this A, B, C, and then we'll call that D,
smallest
E.
D I've ever seen that.
F, G.
So will it always be like 2 times the?
That's the relationship that, yeah, if one's X, the other one's 2X. That's what's kind of
Bless you.
interesting about this. So now that I've got a good one drawn up there, unfortunately, since I'm gonna go up to the board, part of this will not be on video, but you can at least listen to my voice. What we're gonna do here, I took my black pen. Is we're gonna work on some different ones. Let's say I said that first of all, we're going to say that these are all medians. Okay? Let's say I said DE was 5. What does BD equal to?
10.
That's the easy part, isn't it? Because remember, I said if this is X, this is what?
2x.
If that's 5, that's what?
How do you know like which part to go to?
The smaller part is always the one that's X. And you can usually tell. I know I said don't go by how it looks, but you can. You see, I mean, you know that the smaller part is X, larger part is 2X.
Okay.
Now, how to make sure you're right every time, the smaller part will always be to the midpoint. The larger part will always be to the vertex. See, look, the smaller part went to the midpoint, larger part went to the vertex.
Oh.
Okay? That's really easy when they give it to you like that, isn't it? Everybody with me there? Okay. So we all understand that if that's X, that's 2X. If this is Y, this is what?
2x.
If this is Z, that's 2Z. We're all okay with that.
Correct.
So let's say that was number 1. Number 2. Let's say DC is equal to 16.
So
BF equals
I want
8.
you to find FC.
24.
Okay.
Where'd you get 5 at for number 1?
Because look, D
If this is
D
5,
equals 16.
No, it's
Less
4.
than
So 16 divided
this
by
is
2,
going to be 10.
which would be 8. So the 8
Right?
is Z, and then 2Z should be 16. So
I'm
16
saying
is
if
4.
that's 5, what's that going to be? Quiet, please. Listen. Here, let me tell you. Okay. Now, we said DC was 16. So that would be this part up here on top, would it not? So I'm saying that this part is 16. Now, what I asked for was what is F to C? Right? All the way there. Everybody okay with that? Remember, this is always double that one. Or how could you think it the other way? This is always what? Half of that one. So if this one's 16, what's this one going to be?
8.
Making the whole thing
24.
Oh. Wow. I thought it was like 2 times 16.
right? You just got to figure out what part are they giving it to you. Are they giving the big part, the smaller part, or are they giving you the whole thing? Because on the first one I gave you the what? Smaller part. Asked you to find the bigger part. Here I gave you the bigger part, then asked you to find the whole thing. Yes, sir.
How do you know, like, how do you know which one goes with each other, like?
That's what I was saying. The smaller one's always X, the bigger one's 2X.
The book will demonstrate that though, right?
No.
It won't?
Yeah, I'll give you enough to find what you need, yeah. Well, but back to that question that I was telling her before is, the bigger part is always from the vertex to the centroid. The smaller part is always from the centroid to the midpoint. Look here. This is coming from halfway the midpoint, right? See how that's always the smaller part? The part that comes from the vertex is always the what? The one that's double it. You see what I'm saying? That's the one that's double, it's coming from the vertex. You know, the angle. This is coming from the midpoint, that's the smaller part. Yeah.
So, what is the difference between the centroid and the circumscript? Like, aren't they the same?
Why would it be the same? One's a median and one's an angle bisector, and one is where the perpendicular bisectors meet.
Oh.
This is the only one of the four that we draw the whole thing and it breaks it into pieces. The other ones just create a point that has some special values. And that's why I wanted this, y'all to have this. You can see the difference by just reading what's different. The hardest one of these is this one. Is when they give you one like this. Let's say they say that AG is equal to 21. Tell me what AD is equal to and what DG, is that G, is equal to.
AD is 14 and DG is 7.
Get off that phone. Put that.
I was actually calculating this.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. I got 7 for F. Wait.
Here's what you need to think of. They gave you the whole thing,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yes.
And if this helps it, visualize that they basically, this thing gets broken into 3 parts. Would you agree? X, X, and X.
2A.
Agreed? Well, if the whole thing is 21, and you broke 21 and up to 3,
Seven.
that means your parts would be 7, 7, and what?
7.
So that would make the part that's 2x be what?
14.
14. The part that's one of the x's would be?
7. Heck
Right.
yeah.
Now, how else could I do that? Well,
You could have did.
I could, didn't I say if this is x, this is what? 2x?
Uh-huh.
So isn't x plus 2x equal the whole thing, which is
21.
21? Would you agree?
Yeah, so 3x equals 21.
3x equals 21, divide by 3, you know it's broken into
Seven.
parts of 7. Smaller part 7, which is
Yeah.
this one. Larger part is what? 14. When the medians meet, it breaks it into 2/3 and a third each time. Okay? It makes it into basically where you have 2 parts. 2 of the parts are broken down here, and 1 of the part is there. If you can think of it like that, it's actually pretty easy. Did you guys see? Is that blocking you the whole time? Promise? I'm gonna get up here as much for that reason. Over here, it's hard to see.
Do you purposely not want a smart board?
Huh?
Do you choose to not have a smart board?
It's just by the time I got that pen out and started hooking it up and doing it, I could already be done with one problem.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that the same thing as a smart board? It just happens. I guess the only thing about smart board is I think it might have recorded it on, so maybe I ought to.
I don't think it does that.
I think
I think
I'll
you
just see if it
should stay
does.
with this. Because
Yeah.
some of the teachers said they preferred this
Plus,
from
it
the
gives
smart
you more
board.
room to work on your whiteboard. Yeah.
Oh, I know, but the reason I
That's
I used to do this more until I started recording. I want you guys to be able to watch again if you want to. And see, this, what I write up here, isn't on the board. Isn't recorded. The only thing that's being recorded is my voice and a blank screen. You see what I'm saying? It's not recording what I'm writing up there. I actually prefer being up here, but I'm doing it all there so I can record it all. You guys can have it. And, I mean, maybe I may try to see if that pen will work and I can do this. But by the time you press the buttons and I could, like I said, I could have done 2 or 3 problems. Okay, that ought to get us started on this. That's the bulk of what this is all about. Let's get started on it.